let's face it, the current state of mainstream wrestling, in some people's eyes, is on a downward spiral. Now, do I think that way? Part of me does. But there's a bigger part of me that always stays positive no matter what the situation is. Because I have been watching wrestling for the longest time. And I know that there are good times and there are bad times. Wrestling is kind of like a roller coaster. You have your ups and you have your downs. That's just the way it goes. And sometimes those downward spirals seem to take a long time. It was like that. And there was a point where I was like, wow, is wrestling ever going to get good? That is until the Nexus invasion. 2 months ago, I was watching an episode of Raw, and it was a very, very bad episode of Raw until this group of NXT Season 1 rookies jumped over the barricade and totally changed my perspective on the current state of wrestling. In the WWE, that is. I sat in amazement at what my eyes were watching because it was totally unexpected and totally BA. And for those of y'all who don't know what BA is, that's badass. It was badass. There was nothing like it. Nothing in the last 5 years could compare to that last 25 minutes of Raw because it was simply breathtaking. Ever since then, we have been a witness to the NXT Rookie Season 1 guys, who are now referred to as the Nexus. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I enjoy their name, because I think Nexus is kind of lame. However, I am a fan of the shirts. For all you haters of the Nexus shirts, y'all need to, I don't know. But I'm a fan of the shirts. They're black, they're bold, and they make a statement when they're wearing them. They're saying that, hey, you're either Nexus or you're against us. But anyways, I'm not talking about t-shirts. The thing is that we have the Nexus invading Raw week in and week out, destroying individuals, destroying people like John Cena, Vince McMahon, Evan Bourne, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, referees, timekeepers, announcers, name it, they're gonna kick your ass. And to me, that's cool, because that's what wrestling needs. It needs unpredictability that the Nexus brings. Now granted, some of it is repetitive. Of course, they're trying to make a statement. It's going to be repetitive. What other things are they going to do? Are they going to come out and do a dance-off like Kozlov and freaking Santino? No, they're going to come out and kick ass each week. Of course, each week they're going to pick somebody new. The fact remains is that they're coming out and they're making a statement. It's great to see the Nexus because the Nexus is a stable. That's something that you haven't seen in wrestling in the longest. With the exception of the Shredder Society, you have CM Punk, Luke Gallows, Serena, and the newest member, Joey Mercury. They come out each week and they are entertaining. Unfortunately, CM Punk is injured and not wrestling right now, but at least his mouth still works and he's still able to come out and give me a nice laugh each week because his promo skills are really good. However, I'm talking about the Nexus. People are getting tired of the Nexus. Why are we getting tired of the Nexus? We keep seeing the same old stuff each week. It's just boring. It's repetitive. It's the same old, same old. Okay, now how is that any different than when the Four Horsemen were running wild back in the 80s in the Jim Crockett promotions and the NWA? How is that any different? You had the Four Horsemen, the original stable, totally kicking ass each week, winning every match, winning by any means necessary, doing whatever it took. How is it any different from the Heenan family? Bobby the Brain Heenan, all of his men and his stable, Bobby the Brain Heenan would do anything it took his guy to win. How is it any different? People like the NWO. The NWO is the closest thing to the Nexus, or I should say the Nexus is the closest thing to the NWO. Because you have a group of invaders wreaking havoc on a promotion. I'm not saying Nexus is better than NWO because they're not. They're really not. Similarities are there, guys. NWO came out each week. Did almost the exact same thing as the Nexus. Almost. It's still the same. The same formula. You have a stable of people joined together as one, making a statement any means necessary. Stables are awesome, especially when they're used right. And usually stables work the best when they're heels. Now think about it. Some of the greatest stables of all time were heel stables. The Four Horsemen, NWO, you had Evolution, you had Main Event Mafia, you had the Latin American Exchange, you had my favorite stable of all time, the Dangerous Alliance. These stables worked because the men and women that were involved were a strong unit. They worked together. They meshed very well. They were able to go in there and cut a promo. It was like poetry in motion, watching these stables back in the day. And for me, seeing a group like Nexus is nice because I like to see stuff that worked so well back in the day work now in the present day. That's why we need more stables. And here's why. You have a bunch of talent on this roster in the WWE who really isn't used like they should be. We all complain about the guys that aren't used right. We all know who they are. But why not put those guys in a group together? Hell, you guys remember a group called the Job Squad with Al Snow? They were the Job Squad. It was a group of jobbers. They called themselves jobbers. They had it on their shirt. Job Squad. Job standed for jobber because the WWF used them as jobbers. So Al Snow said, let's capitalize on this and make it work. And it did work. You had groups that formed because of the NWO. You had the NWO Hollywood. You had NWO Wolfpack. You had the LWO. Then you had the ECW making their own group like the NWO called the BWO with the Blue Meanie and Stevie Richards and all that. I mean, it worked. It spread like wildfire. Now, can it be overdone? Why, yes, it can. But for you guys that are complaining about the repetitiveness of the Nexus, that's the formula that has worked time in and time out. Every great stable has a little bit of repetition in that stable. It just has to happen that way. Especially in this PG era. Sure, they could maybe change the way they kick somebody's ass. However, with the lack of violence that can be seen on TV with the WWE, they're only able to do certain things. And with Bret Hart getting his ass kicked by the Nexus, that was pretty creative. With people getting jumped in the back, they are trying to do things different each week. However, the thing's going to stay the same. You're still kicking somebody's ass. You can't change that. But that's what works. So, what I'm trying to say is, Nexus is no different from any other stable back in the day. But I'm a fan of it because it works. And it's entertaining. And it's a stable. So, anyways, that's it for now. This is Gold Izzy. Peace out.